Okay, so hello everybody. Welcome to the spring of 2021 first professors panel. This is where all of the professors in our great little community get to come on, answer some questions from the students that they profess, that they teach. And so this is our first one. We're really excited about it, and hopefully we can keep this going. So we're going to start with going along the line. I'll tell you the order after, I guess, but just a quick name, when do you start teaching, what classes do you teach, and just a little bit, whatever you're comfortable sharing with your life away from the classroom. So I don't know if your guys' order on the Zoom is the same as mine. Professor Buser is up to the top left, then Dr. Kapler, and then Stephanie, and then Missy, and then Melissa. So whoever wants to go can go. Just maybe raise your hand if you're next, but we'll start with Professor Buser.
Guess you have to unmute first. All right, I am Dr. Buser. I started teaching at the University of Akron. God, I can't believe I'm going to say this, in 1998. Can't believe it's been that long. Courses that I teach, I am the program director for athletic training for another few weeks. And so primarily I taught in the athletic training curriculum and directed that program. But I've always taught musculoskeletal anatomy, organization administration for healthcare professionals, general medical aspects. And then I'm transitioning over to exercise science and teaching some intro and some care and prevention. Outside of class, I love to be outside, mulching and tending the garden, running, working out. Most of my time is spent watching my kids still. I'm still fortunate enough to be able to watch them participate. So my son plays football, John Carroll, and hopefully my other son will be playing soccer somewhere. So I'm still spent my weekends traveling to watch them play sports, which I love doing.
We'll go Dr. Kapler next.
I want to switch my order. I don't want her sitting next to me. So if I punch her, like if I start going like this, am I punching her in the head? Oh, this way. There you go. Okay, good. My name is Dr. Kapler, and I have a rare and great opportunity to work with one of my closest best friends who's sitting over here to your side, and love to agitate the heck out of her at all cost. Is she making faces at me? Make her stop. It's inappropriate. So let's see. I started at the University of Akron. I beat her out. I started in 1996. So I don't even think y'all were born. And so in the fall, I will start my 25th year at UA. Let's see. In terms of what I do, I work as the program director for exercise science, and I teach exercise testing, exercise prescription, physiology of exercise, intro to exercise science, and exercise science capstone. I think my favorite class I like teaching the most is exercise testing. I think Drew would agree with you that this Thursday we have a big test, and he's probably like, I hate you so much. I just want you to go away somewhere in the next 48 hours. But you know, I think one of my, a little bit about me, I love to be outside. I love to camp. I love to hike. And I'm married with 2 kids. One is a UA alum. The other is a, I don't know, sophomore, junior, senior, something at Akron. And I love UA. I love college. I didn't want to leave, so I never did. That's about it.
Awesome. We'll go Stephanie next, and then Missy after that.
All right. Hi, guys. I am Stephanie Davis-Deringer, and I have been teaching at the university since 2002, 2001, 2002, kind of on and off in there, and then more consistent kind of end of the decades here. I teach exercise leadership, organization and administration for healthcare professionals, exercise in special populations, and whatever else I am needed to teach along the way. Some interesting stuff about me, as you guys can see from my background. Oh my God, of course, I never do anything important and the home phone rings. I swear to God. All right, so the only reason I have it in case I have to call 911. All right, so kind of fun stuff, as you can see from my background. My husband also works at the University of Akron, so we both bleed blue and gold beyond belief. He has been at the university for, I think, 25 years, too, Rochelle, 25, 26. He is in there as the director of the College Credit Plus program. So we enjoy everything all sports Akron, hiking. I am an avid runner and just enjoy being outside with our fur babies.
All right, so I guess that's my turn then, right? So I am Missy Dreisbach. Technically I've been teaching since 1995, but I've been at the university part-time teaching since 2017. I was a GA for 2 years before that. So really I started probably 2015 then. My background is physical education. So I have taught, if any gen ed, phys ed that the UA offered, I probably have taught it at one point or another. Currently, I do more of the concepts of fitness and health, and intro to coaching and personal health, fitness and wellness. All those kind of things is what I kind of teach at the moment, or whatever else they want to throw to me. I will also teach as well. Couple little things about me. I am married. I have 2 daughters. I have one that is currently a freshman at the University of Akron, and another one that I hope will go to college, and we won't have to use the bail money fund for her, kind of deal. She's the one that gives me the gray hair. So, but yeah, so I love just being active. I like working out. I mean, I'm an outside person too. I love to be out in the woods and hiking, especially on these nice days like this. Definitely get out, get the sunshine, get that vitamin D absorption going on. So yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Now we'll go Melissa and then Dr. H.
All right. So, I have actually learned how to pronounce some of my good friends' last names through this that I've never actually heard you guys say. When your last name is Smith, you don't get that, So anyway, so I've been at the university teaching part-time since 2009. And at that time I was working at the rec center full-time as in their fitness and wellness department. And then kind of transitioned into teaching part-time for sports science and wellness education. Now, of course, the School of Exercise and Nutrition Sciences. I do not know. I think probably 2010, 11, and then came full-time in about 2015. And I was teaching in the health education aspect as well as exercise science. So classes I teach are concepts in health and fitness. I've taught intro to exercise science before. Health promotion and behavior change is one that most everybody I think probably will have me for. I teach exercise in special populations, stress management. So kind of like everybody else, transitioning into full-time exercise science. So maybe some additional classes as we move forward. A little bit about myself. I feel like I'm repeating here. Married, 2 kids. I have 2 girls. Pray for me. So 2 teenage girls. One is 16 and one is 13. So junior in high school and a 7th grader. And I too love to be outside. I've been running off and on for about 30 years. And I absolutely love that. But other things outside too. Really enjoy watching my girls do their things, which has mostly been swimming and running. And then kind of an odd thing about me, I guess, is I really enjoy remodeling. So I kind of have what I call a mid-century money pit that I'm kind of constantly working on drywall or flooring or something. So I guess that is about it for me.
Okay, I remember to unmute myself. Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Javanza Kelzel, or Dr. H, a lot easier to say than the whole big long name. And I am the director for the School of Exercise and Nutrition Sciences. So it's so great to see all of you here. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're really excited about having this opportunity to for you to get to know us kind of on a more personal level. So I've been at the university since 2009 teaching. I actually was a medical technologist for 30 years. Went back to school to get my master's and PhD after I had been out of school for 30 years. So that was a real culture shock coming back to school that way. And how I got interested in switching careers was I started teaching group exercise back in the early 80s. And followed my passion. So that's one of the things that you'll hear from me when you're in classes that I teach. Follow your passion, because here I am. And the classes that I'm currently teaching now are exercise leadership and exercise and weight control. And a little bit about me. Like I said, I was a med tech for 30 years. Now, teaching in the program here at the university. And I am a grandmother. I have 3 granddaughters who are my pride and joy. They live about 5.5 hours away from me, and I haven't seen them since September because of COVID. So I'm really excited that I'm gonna go get to see them during spring break. I'm going to take a couple days off during spring break and head over to see them. So I'm really excited. And I still teach group exercise. I am currently teaching Zumba, Zumba Step and Strength, and Strong Nation. So I'm still following my passion.
Awesome. Okay, we will finish off this first part with Professor Barb Jackson, and then I just realized our only male professor here, at least, Dr. O.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. It's good to see some of my students on here, so I appreciate you being here. I'm Barb Jackson. I've been with the university 11 years, believe it or not. I started down at Wayne College and kind of transitioned my way up to main campus. I teach intro to exercise science, concepts of health and fitness, care and prevention. I've taught kines, personal health, what else? Special pops, pretty much anything. I also have been teaching with athletic training the last couple of years, so that's been fun as well. Personally, I have 2 children. They are 16 and 12, so junior in high school and a 7th grader, just like Melissa. I also have, they're swimmers, so if you've had me in class, you know that I spend a lot of time watching them at the pool. But personally, I play tennis and I love to exercise. I love to be outside, and we have a new puppy, Dakota. So I'm outside a lot with her. So it's fun. It's good. I've been married a long time. So thank you for having me.
Well, I guess I let all the ladies go first, right, Drew? Was that the plan? Or you saved the best for last? I'm not sure which one. But so I'm Dr. Otter Setter. I'm Dr. Otter Setter. I am the token male of the department, so I think I fill a quota of some type. I run the master's program and run the lab upstairs. I do teach in undergrad. The only class I teach is the Phys of X class, and I teach cardiorespiratory function if that's one of the classes in the concentration. I also have a dog. I also have 2 daughters. They're also teenagers, so apparently that's a requirement for most of the people in the department. The only difference is that I don't have swimmers and I don't have runners. I have equestrians, so I got to deal with horses and barns and things of the sort. So it's a unique and different life. Let's see, I think that's pretty much it. But yeah, I started in 2004. That seems like a really long time ago. So I was a leftover summer hire, as Rochelle said, whatever was left over from a search committee, and then they got stuck with me, and I've been there ever since. So I guess I'm not going anywhere.
All right, that's wonderful. All right, so we're gonna move into the question session. I'm gonna do two first, and then I'll just kind of open it up to whoever wants to. If nobody has any questions, I have about 1 million to the side of me. So first one is, and I'm gonna reword some of them just so they sound a little nicer. When you come into the program as a freshman or sophomore, a lot of the classes are different than some of your gen eds. What are some habits that you would suggest getting into to make this program a little easier on yourself? For this one, we'll go with Barb, can you answer? Melissa, can you answer? Two teachers I had as freshmen.
Okay, I'll start. I think the biggest thing coming into any program, especially as a freshman or a sophomore and having a daughter who's almost in college, my biggest advice is go to class. Go to class, show up, turn your camera on, make an effort to know us. I always make an effort to know you. I know that's really hard with COVID, but I really think that the biggest thing is stay organized and go to class, and really just introduce yourself to your professor. We are all very, very nice people. I think we're all very approachable, which is not how my professors were when I was in college. So you guys have a distinct advantage that you can come to us and really, build a relationship early on, so that, when you have us as a junior, or when I have Drew again, hopefully, I see his face and I know things about him, and I appreciate students that come back. So that would be my answer. Come to class.
Yeah, that is half the battle right there. Like, you show up, you're attentive, respectful, like you're way ahead. And honestly, if you're on this call right now, I probably don't need to be giving you this advice. I think, the fact that you have decided to come to this and get to know a little bit more about your professor says a lot about probably the kind of student that you are. But yeah, if you are able to give that advice to someone else, that's fantastic. I think the other thing is, and I absolutely 100% agree with everything Barb said. I mean, in our department, save for Dr. O, who is a research-brained person, we are really not tasked as much with research. We are there because we love students and we love teaching and developing students. I mean, I worked in, and I know others too, have worked with students outside of teaching. I worked for them for like 12 years, mentoring students in different aspects. And so that's why I am really there. I love exercise science, but I love people and students especially more. So getting to know us, making yourself known, letting us know what's going on in your life, if that's something that's necessary for you to kind of help be successful. It also will end up letting us make it easy when we go to write letters of recommendation. At the end, we'll look at your resume, but we won't really need it because we'll already know a lot about you. And we love that aspect. So reading, showing up, and letting us know you is the biggest pieces of advice, I would say.
All right, that's great. This was a popular one.
Drew, hold on. Hey, Drew, hold on.
Sorry.
Before you move on, how about we guilt some people into turning their cameras on, because we don't know what they look like. So I know what Natalie, Jenna, and Elizabeth look like. Everybody else can know, but I don't know. So if we turn our cameras on, it's like I see. Thank you, Jackson.
Yeah, if you can.
That's not bad.
If you're a student, if you're in exercise science club and you have your ability to turn your camera on, turn your camera on, and it looks better on YouTube and Facebook. Oh wow, this is so wonderful.
I have never seen Elizabeth without a mask, so I didn't really know what she looked like. Literally, and same thing with Jenna. Natalie, I see all the time on video, but I literally had never seen what their faces look like. So this is nice.
I'm actually blown away with how well that worked. But, all right, next one before we go into other randomness is, this was a popular question. I know the answer to this, so I'm just gonna let Dr. Kathler talk about this one for a little bit. What is the hardest class in the exercise science program? Vague question. And why / what are some good habits to prepare yourself for that?
Sorry, I think it's a combination of 2 classes. But I really think that exercise testing is by far the hardest in terms of content. In terms of amount, I would say it would be Phys of X. But if you are able to process things and kind of keep yourself moving forward, you'll be fine with Phys of X. But in terms of the content, I think exercise testing is most students take that their junior-ish senior year, and they has a prereq of Phys of X in there. How would you prepare for it? First of all, I think the biggest thing I would recommend to you would be, and Dr. O and I say this all the time, don't let the first time you hear the information come when you sit down in the classroom for me to lecture it to you. So for example, before class, if you have class on Monday, Wednesday, I want you to look over the material that we're going to go over, possibly watch, a quick short YouTube video of it. If you can't sit down and read the entire chapter or skim the chapter, or just get yourself familiar with the information before I lecture on it. That way, when I'm lecturing on it, you have some caveats that you can go back to and now you're able to connect with the material while I'm talking about it. So I think that would be my best advice. Don't let the first time I talk about it be the first time you hear about it.
That's great. I feel like I was in exercise testing right there, actually. So now I know a few other people had questions. They let me know they had questions. So I'm going to mute. If you have a question, just go ahead and ask it. And if you know who to ask it to, just say them first so everyone doesn't start talking at once. If not, I'll kind of redirect where I need to.
Yeah, so I had a question. It wasn't to anybody specific, but it was, what are some good ways for students to get their name out in this major?
Let's go with, can Dr. H answer that one, and also Melissa?
What a great question. Number one, join the Exercise Science Club, because if you're not a member yet, join and participate. Now we're a little bit limited because of COVID, but hopefully come fall semester. And if you are already a member, I'm sure Drew has talked about a lot of the exciting things that we have coming. So I think that's number one. And number two, as Melissa mentioned, and I think anybody else would mention too, get to know your professors. When we have, special projects going on, or we know that you have an area of interest, we might be able to hook you up with that particular area of interest. Maybe there's a research study, or, somebody's looking for some assistance. I think those are two of the ways for you to get known in the program and just be involved. And, let us again get to know you. That is so, so important. So I think those are my two pieces of advice for you.
That is a great question, Elizabeth. In addition to that, I would say checking your emails regularly for opportunities, because I know I have kind of like a bright space advising page. And if there's an opportunity that comes up, I'm going to post it there. I'm going to send it out to my advisees. And so that kind of, the opportunities sort of spread that way. But I have before hand kind of picked somebody. For instance, I have a friend whose elderly parents moved to the state, and during COVID, they were like depressed, shut in, but she was worried about having them go to a facility, and it was just difficult for them to be mobile. And she reached out to me and said, Melissa, do you have a student who maybe could come and just do sort of like silver sneakers, like chair stuff with them? Just something they'll be just so happy to have a person coming to pay attention to them. And so I kind of handpicked a student that I'd had in health promotion that I knew would be really good working with elderly people. And that's just because like I got to know that student. But the other advice I would say is maybe get a job at the rec center if at all possible. If you have a few hours to spare, because they really are great at developing students as people. And especially if you can work in the exercise science major, you may have opportunities to start getting certifications while you're still an undergrad student, and that's just going to open up even more doors for you.
That's great. Any, or I guess just not anymore. Next question, anyone can ask it. I'll go ahead and ask another one then. So let's see. This one's going to go to Dr. O and Stacy. Can you explain the difference between the, or not difference, let me reword there. Can you explain the difficulties of some of the upper level classes and labs compared to the intro class and labs?
I guess ladies before gentlemen still, right, Ron?
I was gonna say beauty before age, but okay, go ahead.
Oh, well, that's all right too. Aren't you kind?
But
today?
you have more of both, so you just go ahead.
Ah,
Yeah, I was gonna
Thanks.
interrupt there for a second.
I think that the biggest thing that happens between those early classes and the later classes is one, the volume of information and the technical nature of the information. In intro, I feel like in some of the earlier classes, I feel like we try to give some homeworks and we try to help you along a little bit in terms of guiding you through the semester. And I think by the time you get to some of the MSAs and some of the deep exercise science classes, testing and prescription, we really expect you to be able to manage those classes a little bit more. And I feel like there are fewer homework assignments and much more reading and studying for the exams. And to help with that, I always tell students a couple of things, kind of piggybacking on what Rochelle said earlier, is about doing a little bit of information every day. So if you come to class and come to lecture, you don't just put that away on the shelf and then just show up the next class period. The way to be successful in those upper level classes is to go home from that class and then kind of revisit for a few minutes, read over your notes, make your flashcards, make a study sheet, and to do a little bit each time so that you don't have a mountain in terms of an exam. You have little bit of molehills to be able to manage.
Yeah, the one thing I would add is, and I mean, Elizabeth, Natalie, and Jenna are in my class now, and I think I talk about this in class a lot, is the biggest difference also is that by design, all the classes kind of build on each other, where as you keep going along, we expect you to be able to tie specific concepts together without, that you already should know by that point without us having to go back and review it. So in class, I talk about, there's a one thought question answer on the test versus a two thought question answer, which is, what is the name of this enzyme? You either know it or you don't. So you either memorize it or you didn't. But then there's another one when you might ask, what this if this person is doing this activity, what would there be an issue with, this sort of substrate or whatever, something along those lines. Well, first you got to know what the activity uses as energy, and is that going to affect with the question that he's asking? Well, that's in Phys of X, you kind of builds on that, and there are, it's kind of, I guess it has the same effect. It's kind of like an onion when you say, there are multiple layers to it. And the deeper you go in, the more you cry. But when you get to the testing classes and the prescription classes, we started doing the prescription chapter in Phys of X now, it'll be like that, but on steroids. It won't be just like one chapter over going kind of the superficial stuff. It's, you have to know the very detailed things. In class, I say, you don't know who's going to walk in through the door, and you have to be able to write a exercise prescription for anybody that walks in there. It doesn't matter who what they look like, but you have to worry about what their goals are. So you have to be able to be a flexible enough and good enough physiologist to be able to do that. And that's the biggest difference is the front beginning classes is a lot of kind of memorization and some superficial stuff. But once you get the Phys of X and above, it's a lot of having to connect concepts from one class to the other and from one year to the other to understand everything at the end, how everything kind of comes together. That's my biggest thing.
And I think, just to tie that up in terms of being able to critically think and problem solve and synthesize all that information that you got in those earlier classes.
Great answers. I'm going to ask one more, and then I'm going to ask someone who's another student to ask one. So think of a question. This is just a funny question, kind of. So I'm going to ask it to, can Stephanie and Missy answer this one? This is, I think this is a funny question. What is a good GPA to have in this program? So you guys can do whatever you want with that.
Missy, you want to go first? You want me to take it?
I don't know, you can go. I mean, I think we'll be the same, but we'll see. Go ahead.
Right. The higher the better, right? The higher the better. Isn't it competition? The higher the better? No, I'm just kidding. I am just kidding. As long as you work hard, as long as you put every ounce of effort into it, whatever you define success as, whether that's GPA, whether that's experience, you get out of this major, especially this degree, what you put into it. So I'm not going to tell you GPA doesn't matter. It does, but there is so much more to this degree in this industry, in this field, than just kind of that academic perfection. It's about the experiences that you get along the way as well.
I'll interrupt her and say that Stephanie was a student of ours at one point, and that is excellent information, because we all know that not everybody has the best grades possible, but you can be a rock star without having straight A's. Yeah. And I'm not saying that she didn't have straight A's, but I'm just saying that
I worked hard. I worked really hard.
Anyway, okay, go Miss.
Go.
Oh, well, I can go ahead and piggyback. I mean, yeah, it's good to get good grades. And I know there's the C's get degrees kind of thing too, but I think it's what you put into it is what you'll get out of it. And I think if you are more involved in what you're doing and in the area that you're most interested in, that's going to just help fortify everything you learn. And it's going to make you a better and stronger professional later on. So definitely, like I said, I mean, you want to do your best. That is a key of it, of the whole puzzle. But I think it's more of what you do necessarily than the academic. So definitely getting involved, volunteering for, research opportunities, doing the field experiences, getting all that hands-on kind of stuff. That is what's really going to make the difference in the end. But definitely we want you to be successful, Go for the B. Just go for the B.
Hey, Drew, I'm going to say something real quick. So the trend for, I know a lot of you guys are PT, probably PT concentration majors. So a lot of the trend for PT schools now is they're less worried about GPA, and they're looking more at the whole student. So it doesn't behoove you to show up with a 4.0 GPA and have, no personality and have done nothing else but study and show up as a great student, but with no other activity, versus they would prefer to take somebody with a not 4.0 GPA that, so I'll plug it for Drew, right? So who was an exercise science club member, maybe an exercise club officer, that maybe they did a project in the lab, maybe they were a subject in the project, and they're looking for, I know you got the GPA, but what else you got? And they're looking at less of GPAs and looking at extracurriculars, and the interview are becoming a much more important piece of the whole process than just the numbers. The numbers don't pan out in the end for them.
And if I could add to, like, just not only getting involved with all that, but also like your professional organizations, if you can go to the conferences and get involved with all that, that's gonna help you go further too.
And real quick, before someone else answers, the conferences that she's talking about, I know a lot of people in here are freshmen, mentioning ACSM Midwest, which is a conference we usually go to every year. It's in Chicago. Come to our normal meetings and we'll talk about that, especially as that gets closer. Sorry, that's just a shameless plug. But Melissa, I think your hand's raised, which is cool that I get that alert. Awesome.
I just wanted to piggyback on what others have said about involvement and being well-rounded. I know a lot of students have to work as they go through school too. And that you might be feeling like, well, I have to work, so I don't have, I don't look as good on paper as maybe somebody who was able to be more involved in things. And I would say, of advisees that I've had, the ones who get into the school of their choice are super well-rounded with some work too, especially if they've stayed at the same place for quite a while, even if it was like Starbucks. I mean, it doesn't really matter what the job was. It just shows loyalty and commitment, time management skills. So don't be just, don't worry about that. If you're working too, I think that just adds to your resume.
Now there's a physical hand raise, which I also love.
Because I couldn't find the hand raise thingy wherever it is. I don't know. I just wanted to add to that too, because Melissa read my mind. Great minds think alike, right? I was going to say the same thing because I know the same thing. A lot of students have to work. So, I agree with everything that Melissa said. And the other thing I would say to you too is think about the skills that you are acquiring in your job, no matter what it is. People skills, if you move up into management skills, of course, Melissa said time management. So whatever career it is that you want to do, whether it's OT, PT, whether you're going to be doing something else, you're not going on to graduate school, think about what does that profession entail? What is it that they're looking for? What's that professional look like? And then be able to translate the skills that you're learning in your job or you're acquiring in your job. And that will go a long way as well.
That was perfect. It was a little piggyback session there. It was great. All right. Anybody else have a question that they've been thinking of?
I have a question. It's just kind of general towards anybody, but it's sorry, I think I cut somebody off. I don't know.
Go ahead, you're fine.
Okay, but it's just, what is a biggest pet peeve that a student does?
How long do we have, Drew? No, I'm just kidding.
You have 30 seconds for this one, Doctor.
For this one.
Let's go. Yeah.
I think my biggest pet peeve, which I think is funny, it still happens in class even to this day, is like people trying to use their phones in class and thinking that I can't tell that they're using their phones. As the great Rochelle Kapler once said, there's nothing more exciting than looking at your crotch than looking up at me, I believe, or something along those lines to our class. So don't think we can't tell you're looking at your phone. We know you're looking at your phone. We're all parents here. We all have kids. We all have eyes on the back of our heads. So just pay attention. You're only there for so long.
All right. I do want to hear Dr. Kapler's answer, but I do want it to be a different answer. And you can just feel free to go off the hip here.
Yeah, wow. Pet peeves of mine, obviously the phone is the thing. I call people out on. I give you one chance to be nice. I'm going to be nice to you the first time, and then after that, I'm not going to be I'm going to be so nice, and I'm going to say, you can just take off, you can fly, you can scoot. You got something big going on. It's cool. And I can't get on my phone during class, so I don't think anybody else should be able to. But I think, really, that's about it. I mean, I've never had a problem where students weren't treating each other with respect. I think that giving us their attention and making sure that they're making that count. Y'all are spending a lot of money on this. And so, make your dollars count and listen to what's going on, because we want to be successful. I always tell my students I could be your best friend or your worst enemy, and you get to decide. So, I am certainly willing to help you out as far as I can. But if you're not going to meet me halfway, it tends to sometimes people can't get out of their own way, if that makes sense. Okay, did I ruffle any feathers, or is that pretty okay?
I can't wait to hear the response from Ron and Rochelle when I say what my pet peeve is.
Anyone, wait, I'm going to tell you what it is. It is when somebody attempts to turn something in late, and when the instructions clearly say, don't turn in their assignment late. Is that right?
Yep. So for me, I'm a big person about deadlines, and deadlines being posted, and being a responsible student, and being able to manage your time and putting things in your calendar so that you know when assignments are due. Because there's nothing worse than getting an email that says, I know you don't accept late assignments, but can you please accept this assignment? And most of the time for all of us, we are, particularly with Brightspace now, everything is posted and available, and you have all the information that you should need in terms of when assignments are due and when exams and stuff like that. So I guess I would say in terms of, being organized and knowing, what is due when, because that also helps you be a successful student, to be able to manage your time with all the classes and work and everything that's going on.
We call that in the department the does not compute mode for Buser.
Can I add one more thing?
For sure.
We're coming up, well, we're what, in week 11, I think. So we got a few more weeks to go, but don't wait until like the last week of the semester and come to your professor and say, what can I do to pass this class? If you're having trouble, if you're struggling, we want you to be successful. So reach out to us. Anybody sitting here, and any of our other faculty members that aren't sitting here right now, we are approachable, and we will go above and beyond to help you, but you have to ask for help. But don't wait until the end of the semester, because it's not going to work.
I think Haley had a question. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, cool.
I did.
My question is, how accessible are professors when someone is like struggling in a class or needs just like a little bit of extra help or explaining?
I think I'll take that right off. That's a really good question, Haley, because I think just showing up here today makes you understand that we're pretty amicable. And like I said before, and I know that comment comes off a little harsh when I say I could be your best friend or your worst enemy, but I'm working with a student right now, for example, who emailed me and said, I am falling apart. And I said, well, what can I do? So she first emailed me back and she said, just pray for me. And I said, well, that's a done deal, but what else can I do? And she said, I'm just so close to the finish line, I've got to finish. And so what I've been doing with her is every other day, I send her a list of things to do. And because she's in two of my classes three this semester. And so I have broken it up and I've literally given her a list of things to do for those days. And that certainly isn't on my list of duties and responsibilities, but she asked for help and we're working it out to see where I can help her and how I can help her. If she can't understand something, then we're going to go a little bit farther. But I think right now you all are struggling in a myriad of ways. I think we're a little bit better off than we were before. But right now it's coming down the finish line and it's time to roll again. So reach out, ask for help, and we can do it in so many different ways. And if it means holding your hand, I'll hold your hand. If it means kicking you in the rear, we'll kick you in the rear. It's really dependent on what the student really needs. I don't know whether anybody wants to add to that. I hope that answers your question, Haley.
I'm going to have Natalie answer the question for me.
Okay. Ready?
Go ahead, Natalie. Tell them what we do every week.
I meet with him every week because I know PhysicX is a hard class, but meeting with him has helped a lot. So I emailed him in the beginning of the semester and I was like, hey, I heard this class was hard and I feel like I need some extra help. So I meet with him every week and then just have a list of questions and ask him what I want to ask.
So we have a set time right after class on Tuesday, and if she has a question, we'll meet and we just do it on WebEx or whatever. And I shared my screen with my PowerPoints, and she's like, okay, this slide, pick figure number 8.11. I have a question about that, and we'll go to it and we'll go through the whatever her question is, and So yeah, like Rochelle said, there's a million ways of doing it. And, you know, I'll give Natalie, absolute credit on this. You know, I've been teaching this for a long time. And if I count in the time I've taught Phys of X, which I've taught multiple sections over multiple semesters, she's probably about the 6th person that's ever come to me to ask questions. So that goes back to the, use your resources. If you probably don't understand, there's probably somebody else that's not understanding either and doesn't have the courage to ask the question either. So if you don't want to do it in front of class, Natalie will tell you, we'll sit there and we'll walk through it, every single one of them, as many times in many ways as we got to do it. And I think all the teachers will agree with me. If you're willing to put the effort forward, we're willing to help you. But like Judy said, I'm not, saving your GPA I meant to say something else. Saving your GPA at the end of the semester because you didn't, now is where you're panicking. And then, to circle back to the pet peeve thing, don't ask me about extra credit. I know that Judy's on here. As soon as I get extra credit for my job, I'll get extra credit for you in class. So whenever that gets put into the real work world, then we can talk about it. As of right now, that doesn't happen. So don't ask me for it. Do regular credit, don't do extra.
I think more often than not, students just don't come to us for help. And I think Ron's point is, that Natalie being maybe only the 6th person that's come to him, and I'm sure that every single one of us says it, on the first day of the syllabus about our office hours. I've had office hours every day, 4 times a week this semester. And you know how many people I've had to my office hours? 0. So we provide times when we set aside times for help, and particularly early on in the semester. And so, just as busy as you guys get when it gets to be week 11 and week 12 and week 13, we are just as busy as you guys are trying to make sure that we get everything in for the rest of the semester. And so it's a lot easier for us to help you and to set up, some kind of plan or something throughout the semester than it is in the 11th hour.
Just to add, we all have office hours for you to come, but if our office hours don't work for your time, you need to reach out to us, and we can, those aren't like the only times that we're available. It's just like, okay, we're just going to make our office hours this time, and for other conveniences, but it doesn't mean that there's not other times of the day that we're, we can meet with you. That's the main thing, is just if you are struggling or having issues, you just need to contact us, and we can make time for you. I think any of us would make time for sure.
That's great. I've personally had to reach out to multiple professors in this call because not a great natural learner, not great at the whole flashcard stuff. And so I was in a call with a bunch of prospective students a few weeks ago, and I told them, I've met people through conferences who go to other colleges and who are in other PT programs across the Midwest area. And they always say their professors are not like this. They don't get on a professor's panel call. They're very closed off. They're more research-based, like someone told them earlier. So this is not something that's super normal, that our professors are so easily accessible. And I'm sure you'll kind of learn that as you go along. So any other questions from other students before I have a few more here? Okay, cool. I kind of have a good one. This is also kind of funny. Can we have Barb and Dr. H answer this one? Do students who participate, do you grade easier for students who participate more in class and talk more?
Wow, what an interesting question. I think that the kids that come to class and participate in class kind of hold a special place in my heart because I appreciate them and I know they really care about their education. But if the answer is A, I don't ignore it if they put B. I think I'm probably one of the more, I don't want to say nicer, but I teach the freshmen and sophomores for a reason. So, I can hook you in. No, I'm kidding. I think I grade fair I don't think that I give any kind of preference. I do, if someone reaches out though, if they have a question or anything, I will help them. But I grade fairly, but I do appreciate the people that speak up in class and ask questions and reach out and come to class. So.
I would imagine that this means more of not like if the answer is kidney, like they're not going to give like the correct answer for like femur. I was interpreting it kind of like a short answer, like a lab, more leniency. I would imagine was what they was asking.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was going to say what I do is I because like especially in exercise in special populations, my first 3 exams in the class are all extended response. So when we're face to face, I grade the first page, and then I don't see who the rest of it, because I grade each question one at a time. So I don't even know whose answers are whose. I want to make sure that I'm grading them exactly the same. Now with Brightspace, now that we have everything on Brightspace, this semester, I just turn off the names when I'm grading. So I have no idea who I'm grading, because I try to be as fair and objective as possible. Now, when it comes to the end of the semester, and I'm looking at the grades, and somebody is, a fraction of a point moving up 1 grade, will I take that into account? There, I definitely do take it into account. If a student is participating in class, asking questions, asking for help, then yes, definitely I take it into account there. But if it's just, like a one-off on a test, no, I grade them the same.
Does any other professor want to comment on this? I think this is super interesting. So
I will go back and agree with Judy on and I've said this before, if you come to class and you are engaged and you really are a good learner and are a good student and you're right on the cusp, you're going to get the benefit of the doubt from me at the end of the semester. But if you never show up and I have no idea who you are, you get what you get.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
So Drew, I'll kind of add, I don't know so much about grading, but I know so much about providing opportunity or providing information for students. If I have students that I have never seen or really kind of been a part of class throughout the entire semester, and they ask me for a letter of recommendation, or they ask me for, Stephanie, what friends do you know, or opportunities of jobs or grad school or any of that kind of stuff, I will tell you my recommendation letter or my opportunities look very differently than probably those that I know that have gone the extra mile, that have raised their hand, that have really made an effort to create that relationship or communicate with me. It's again, kind of what you put into it is what you get out of it.
And I will say, I guess, thinking about this question, I've had students who participate a lot in class and they know their stuff and it doesn't come out on the short answer, especially on exams, where then I will pull them aside and say, like, I know that you know this stuff because you're always participating, and we'll talk through it. And then sometimes I find out maybe they have they should be getting some sort of accommodation for extended time, or they're just not interpreting the vocabulary because it's not exactly how I said it, so we kind of work through things. And if I would never take that opportunity with somebody that I, don't know if they know their stuff because they're not participating in class, if that makes sense.
awesome. I thought that was a really funny question. I have one more, but does anyone else student-wise have a question? We have plenty of time.
Yeah, I have a question. What do you guys enjoy most about teaching here and like professing to all the students?
I'll go first on this one. I'm a teacher at heart, period. That's what I was, I came out as a phys ed teacher when I came out as an undergrad. So I think my favorite part is the interaction with students. That's probably one of my best in the relationships that we make. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I believe that what I do, I think a lot of my colleagues will agree, is like, I don't think we really work because we have too much fun. So it's just it's a fun job. And I like I said, it's the interaction with the students that I absolutely love. It's just building those kind of relationships. That's the most fun for me.
I would say, Natalie, that watching students become colleagues is what I enjoy the most. Is it's kind of a big deal when we're face to face or are face to face, is that I start the beginning of the semester in capstone, which it should be taking your final semester, just in case you weren't listening in your advising meetings, but capstone should be taking your last semester. And at the very beginning, I refer to everyone as students and so on and so forth. But at the very last week, I introduce you all as my colleagues. And I love that day. I love that day. It gives me chills, and that's really special.
I have a couple of pieces to this. One, I'm a University of Akron alumni, and I went through the athletic training program at Akron. So like the rest of them, I bleed blue and gold. And then I went to private practice, and I am an athletic trainer by trade. You know, ask anybody I work with, and it's probably in my soul. I could watch any sport anytime. But when I went back to teach, because I'm not really a teacher by trade, I really wanted students, and the way that I teach is for them to be able to make the connection. Why am I sitting in class? Why is it important for me to learn anatomy or exercise testing? And so for me, the big important piece is they see the value and how they're going to be able to be a good clinician when they leave, no matter what profession they're going to be in. How is all of the stuff that I'm torturing myself and bloodying my forehead with, during exam week and all that other stuff, how am I going to be able to use that? And for me, that's I get a really big charge when people are like, I get it, or when they go out and they get a job and they're like, oh yeah, I was in the clinic and I'm the rock star because I knew all the answers.
I'll go next, and everybody, all the faculty will agree that it's going to be a lame philosophical answer, but that's the way I think. But the way I actually, both undergrad, but also especially the grad students, the way I kind of think about it is, we're just going to be a part of your educational journey, is what I refer to it. And what we want to see is you come in as a freshman and go out as a senior with some amount of growth. And we are responsible for some of that amount of growth, but you are responsible for a lot of that amount of growth. And I think everybody will agree with us that it's really cool to see the kind of kids that you see at the beginning in the intro classes, in the concept classes, 150s and all those. By the time Rochelle gets them, in 340 and all the other classes, that the 400 classes, you're a totally different person. And it's kind of see that, where do you eventually, and we get, and everybody will agree with it, and we still keep in touch with a lot of our former students and see kind of where they are, where they ended up. And it's kind of cool to see that we were part of that journey, as I call it, to wherever their ultimate goal was. And some people reach their ultimate goal. Some people take complete left turns and do something completely different. And that's okay, because that's the journey that we're going to go on. But I have my coolest thing, especially with the grad program, for example, is, to see where those people end up. And, I shared with Rochelle and Stacy and Melissa, I think the other day, a letter from one of our former students, a grad student, that he was a GA for us. And, perfect example, we've been talking up to this point. He kind of stood out in class as a guy that was really dedicated, really wanted to do something. We had a GA spot. I gave it to him because of that. He was a great GA while he was with us. He then worked at a rehab hospital in Pennsylvania for a few years, applied for a bunch of schools. It wasn't getting in. So he just stuck it out and got some more experience. And he just got into a PhD program at South Carolina, which is one of the top PhD programs in exercise physiology. So again, it was nice to see that and he wrote me back a really nice email saying, hey, I really appreciate everything you did for me, and you're a really big part of this. And, and I know Rochelle gets a million of these because she's so great. but I get very few and far between of those, of students coming back and saying, hey, look, I really appreciate everything that that you did for me in, and I mean, the grad program, I only see them for 2 years out of their literally entire life, like career-wise. And so it's nice to see that within those 2 years, we made enough of a difference that it made a difference in literally their lives after they leave. So I think that's a really cool thing.
That's awesome. Last one here, unless anyone else, well, I guess first, does any student have any question that they've thought of?
I have a quick question. It's kind of just pertaining for me, maybe out of this group. So Dr. H, you said how kind of like follow your heart. So I'm like really between two career paths. So I'm just like wondering some advice on to know what exactly to do.
I'm trying to see who was asking the question.
It's Christina. My camera won't turn on.
Oh, okay, Christina. Okay, so you are in our program. How far along are you?
About a year left.
About a year left. Okay, and what would your dream? What are the two things that you're not
So it's
sure
either
exactly what you want to do?
PT or working with animals. And I know there's some careers coinciding with them, but I need to do more research on that.
Okay. Which one, and there's nothing to say that you don't go in one direction. So if you were going to work with animals, are you thinking about going to veterinary school or?
That's the thing. I don't think I can have enough motivation to go through all of that.
To go through all of that. So there's nothing wrong with going one direction, except for, thinking about, if you're thinking of going PT, there's nothing wrong with going that way. Or maybe you need to take a year off and just maybe work for a while, get some experience, maybe, or maybe have you shadowed like in a vet clinic or something like that to kind of get that kind of experience to see if that's something you might like. And then, if you're doing your practicum with PT, kind of comparing both of them, it just kind of changes. When I was your age, did I ever think that I never exercised. I mean, just how I ended up in this, it was just the way life took me. So, you kind of just have to, maybe do some research, maybe do some shadowing, that might help you. Does anybody else have anything else to add? Because it just sometimes you don't get the answer right away. Did I see Melissa?
Go ahead, Melissa.
Well, I was just going to kind of say that, like, when I came into college, I mean, even all the way through college, I was dead set on being an athletic trainer. I too came from an athletic training background, was a certified athletic trainer. And I was definitely not going to teach because I did not like to draw attention to myself. And I felt like I wasn't a good presenter. So that was definitely not part of the plan. Kids were, part of the plan, but not a minivan. I mean, I was way too cool for that. And this is the vehicle I've been driving for the last 10 years. And I was always more of a cat person. And this is my dog, but I have zero regrets about any of it. I never actually practiced athletic training. When I got to grad school, I did kind of a pivot and found what my true passion was. So yeah, I mean, it's always is good to have a plan, Christina, but don't worry about it because things do sort of just have a way of working out. If you keep an open mind and you enjoy the journey, I think you'll figure it out. You know what I mean? As you keep going.
Christina, it's Stephanie. I just wanted to kind of let you know, Stacy calls me, I'm kind of the queen of reinventing myself. That's one of my special talents. Specifically within this industry, I've held multiple roles, multiple jobs with this degree, from doing cardiac rehab to nonprofit management, for-profit management, all kinds of different things in this industry. I want you to just kind of remember in the back of your head, I didn't know graduating with my undergrad what I wanted to do. I had two professors talk me into going to grad school because I couldn't find a job. Thank you, Rochelle and Stacy. I graduated on a Saturday and started grad school on a Monday, and was kind of like, all right, here we go. Really, I didn't have a strong, solid direction. I changed my major 4 times. I started out in nursing and ended up in this. So, and still kind of along the way, it's okay that you don't know. It's okay to try different things. You talk about pets or whatnot, think about pet therapy, maybe becoming a pet, working with pets or pet therapy. Children's Hospital has a great program with their doggy brigade that goes in and does some different rehab or things using animals for working with kids in that environment. And I'm happy to put you in touch with that connection there to be able to kind of get you to try some different things. But also don't be afraid if you try something and it's not what you want to do. That's how you learn and that's how you grow. So don't panic. It doesn't mean you have to pick a career right now. That career can morph and change all the way along the way. So I just want you to kind of think about that as you're moving forward. You don't have to decide it right now.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And Stephanie, I'll probably email you about the opportunity.
My last question was, coincidentally, Christine and I didn't plan this. I swear to you guys, it was about advising and what to do if you didn't know what path you wanted to go down. So I'm not going to ask that question. I guess just real quick, this is kind of a good one to finish on because we are entering week 11 or 12 or whatever it is now. Like X weeks to spring break is how I'm looking at it. So let's see. Can I ask Dr. Buser and Barb, what is your advice for stressful weeks with heavy exams? Maybe you have 2 exams in a week, maybe you have 2 exams in a big lab. Do you have any tips, any methods that you guys follow for time studying versus time relaxing, time going to the gym, or is it more of a personal preference?
Okay, so here's my advice. If you've had me in class, you know that I am ridiculously organized and really anal retentive about it. And Stacy's laughing because she knows that I'm stupid about stuff. Have a schedule and stick to it and embrace it. Don't wait till the last minute to study for a test. Don't wait for the last minute to write a paper, because inadvertently your printer will die and then you'll come crying to me at 11:59. Because it happens. It always happens. Please, please, please take time for yourself. Don't just sit in front of a book. I am also a big proponent of sleep. I always say nothing will go in your brain after midnight. So go to bed. And if you've had me in class, you probably heard me say this. You can study all you want up till midnight, but go to bed. You're actually better off getting up at 6 in the morning and cramming at 6 in the morning with a good night's sleep behind you than you are staying up all night. So don't do that. Get your good sleep, organize, always give yourself, 3 or 4 days in advance, little bits at a time. Is always my advice, but just stay organized throughout, especially now that it's getting toward the end. Say this is, I know I have this test. I know when it is. I have time. Don't panic. Exercise, exercise, exercise. Drink enough water. Don't eat junk. God, I sound like a mom. But just take care of yourself. But the big thing too is, nothing good happens after midnight. So go to sleep, but do your due diligence, but don't do it all the night before.
Barb and I couldn't be more opposite, could we? If you see my desk, like it's perfectly messy organized, like I can find everything on here, but we are like the most opposite people on the planet. As Rochelle says, I could fall in a pile of poop and come out smelling like a rose because of how organized I am. But I don't know that Barb left anything out of that answer, except for you kind of always have to plan for the unexpected too, because life happens to all of us. And if you do a little bit at a time and try to stay up on top of everything, then when you get a flat tire or when your printer doesn't work, it won't be such a panic. The other thing that I will say is whatever it is that you is a stress relief out and be is not going to help you manage, particularly when you panic, when you don't know the answers in the middle of the test. So I tell my anatomy students all the time, you have to do a little bit every day. I said, you know, I tell them, I'm sure you don't want to hear my voice at night before you go to bed, but my voice would be telling you just to review your notes from that day so that it's fresh. So that you are studying, you know, a week in advance and you're not starting the night before. But you've got to find some kind of stress relief and not make mountains out of everything. I said somebody today, you know, little bits, you know, conquer, you know, one step at a time, one chapter at a time, and not look at the mountain that's in front of you because you won't be able to get over the mountain. And do all those other things that Barb said.
Those are both great answers. So that is our first ever professors panel. That was really awesome. Thank you to everyone who one came, and to turning your camera on is way more one, aesthetically pleasing, and two, it's just more fun. You feel like you're with people. So real quick before we leave, I'm gonna take a little screenshot to post on our social media for the Zips to the Front line. So if you want to turn your camera on, if you can, maybe smile. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But I'm gonna take it and ready. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cheese. That's great. Everyone looks wonderful. Okay.
Hey, could I say one more thing here too?
Of course. Yeah.
Guys, the university, of course, you know, is celebrating our sesquicentennial. That took me a long time to say that.